Perfect. Welcome back, students. Today I'm joined with Carolina Alarco. She's the co-founder of Latinos in Bio, and she's going to tell you a little bit about her role. And without further ado, I'll pass it over to you, Carolina.
Thank you so much. Thanks, United Way, for inviting me to this wonderful STEM chat. It is my pleasure to be with all of you, and hopefully you learned something, and hopefully I'll get to inspire a lot of you to pursue STEM careers. So my name is Carolina Alarco, as Lexi said. I am originally from Peru, Lima, Peru, the country of the Incas. And I studied my undergraduate degree in the University of Lima, just a business administration major. And then I moved to Boston in the 90s to study a graduate degree in Harvard University, also in business administration, international business. And my STEM focus is that I always loved science. And since I was little, really, at school, I was really a big science fan. But I also thought that I wasn't going to be a scientist in the lab all the time. So I wanted to find something that would allow me to be in sciences, but also use my business acumen and my skills, my financial skills, to do something to make sure that, that I am in the science field, but not necessarily in the lab. So I started my career in biotech about 25 years ago. And I started working at a company called Genzyme, which is a company in Boston, Massachusetts, one of the pioneer biotech companies. And I really started from, an entry-level position as a marketing coordinator. And then I, stayed 15 years, worked really hard and really smart. And then 15 years later, I ended up as a vice president of the company. I started when the company had only 100 people. It had just gone IPO, and it had one product and 100 people. And then it grew all the way to having around 40 products and 10,000 people. And we had presence in 80 countries around the world. I was lucky to be a big driver of the geographical expansion of Genzyme. And then in 2011, the company got acquired by a very large pharmaceutical company called Sanofi. So then I went on to start two other biotech companies, Igerian Pharmaceuticals and Novelion Therapeutics, and we took both companies public, and they did really well. Until, of course, we hit an exit in 2019, and we sold the company to a European pharmaceutical. And I decided to step away from my president role, because I was a president in those companies, and really focus on consulting for smaller biotech startups and helping them with their corporate strategy and with getting funded, which is very important for startups, as you know. So I'm working now in my own consultancies, BioStrategy Advisors, and working with an investment bank, with a boutique investment bank that helps biotech companies. It's called Interlink Markets. And I find it very rewarding to work with a lot of scientific founders that are raising funding for bringing their innovations to market and through the development stages. So it's really very rewarding. And then, what skills are needed to be successful in a role like this? I think it's mostly hard work, resilience, and also I think it worked to my advantage that I was Latina and that I brought my whole self to work in that I brought in a different cultural perspective. I brought in the idea of going to other countries and opening up offices in Latin America, for example, and having the ability to speak other languages. I think that'll help me advance through the ranks, and also trying not to be shy and quiet, but really trying to express my views and make decisions, and just have a little bit of self-confidence. I think is very important in all of the startup companies. So basically, that's a little bit about me, And I don't know if we can go into Q&A now, Lexi.
Yes, absolutely. And I don't see any questions in the chat. And if Louis, you would like to pose a question, you're on the phone, so pose it out loud. But Carolina, I'd first like to ask, how many languages do you speak and do you use them daily in your job?
I speak 5 languages. So Spanish, English, Portuguese, French, and Italian. And yes, I use them every day in my job. So for all of you that speak more than one language, I mean, that's a fantastic skill to have in the business world. And it's going to be even more important in the future. So please continue to speak it, and practice, because a lot of students that come from bilingual families, they decide to only speak English, and their Spanish or their Portuguese is, forgotten, and that is actually not good. A lot of companies require language skills. Mhm.
Perfect. Thank you for answering that. And someone asked a question in the chat. What does a day in the life look like for you now? And how has that changed throughout your career?
So yeah, it's changed a lot in the last few years, especially after the last company exit. I used to be an operational executive, an international president. So I used to travel all the time. I used to be in an airplane 50 to 60% of the time, flying to either Latin America or Japan or Europe. But lately, when I decided to not going back into a biotech company per se and start my own consultancy, I was able to do it from home and virtually, even before the pandemic. So I'm talking October of 2019. And so when the pandemic hit in 2020, I had already been working from home with my clients for a long time and doing virtual Zoom conferences, which wasn't common at that point, but we were used to working in that way. And so I was able to continue my excellent work with my wonderful clients through the virtual conferences. So that's great. And it also allowed me to slow down a little bit in terms of my day-to-day, to focus on Latinos in Bio, which I haven't talked about. It's actually a nonprofit organization that is a group of Latino professional leaders in biotechnology, pharmaceuticals, life science companies in general. And what we're trying to do is have programs that benefit other Latinos coming up through the ranks in the biopharmaceutical industry. So we have mentoring programs, C-suite ready programs, board ready programs. And the idea is to foster not only a network opportunity for Latinos and amigos, if you will, but also to help people advance their careers and prosper. Mhm.
I love that. I hope your mentorship program is called Latinos and Amigos.
Good
But just
idea.
to highlight you a little bit more, can you talk about what students can take advantage of from the Latinos in Bio program and how they can possibly get involved for anyone that's watching this recording?
Absolutely. So Latinos in Bio is really, for now, we're focusing on Latinos that are in mid-career and late career. But I think we're going to pivot next year. And once we have more funding, we're going to focus on Latinos that are very early in their careers and help them get into entry-level positions in the industry, as well as on internships. And it's sometimes difficult for Latinos. We don't have the network, and sometimes we're just first time or first generation graduates from college. Sometimes we are first generation people in STEM or trying to get into the biotech industry. But I think that Latinos in Bio is gonna open the doors for a lot of Latinos to get entry level positions as well as internships in different companies. So hopefully, by keeping connected with us and keeping in our distribution list. If you go to latinosinbio.org, you can sign up for our distribution list and you will get a lot of that. And now there are career opportunities, but in the future, we're going to have entry level and internship opportunities for students.
Yeah, I agree. What an important organization. We had one more question about your organization in the chat. What inspired you to start Latinos in Bio, and how did you go about building it? What have been some struggles and some successes?
Sure. So Latinos in Bio was started in the summer of 2019 with a group of 15 Latino professionals at the director level, vice president level, president, CEOs of companies, because we knew that there were a lot of Latinos working in the industry, but we didn't know each other. So some of them just, got to meet each other real well. And we came up with business development opportunities. We discussed that we had a lot of things in common, a lot of challenges we faced were the same. And we were also really inspired to help younger generations pick the biotech industry as an industry to work. Some people are a little bit intimidated by biotech and thinking that it's only for scientists or for physicians or for PhDs, etc. But honestly, there are careers in all kinds of areas like human resources, business administration, like myself. There are careers in finance, um, legal, all kinds of areas and functional areas. So I would definitely, make a point here for all of the students that are thinking about what industry they'd like to work with. I think biotech is an industry that continues growing rapidly. It's an industry that provides really well compensation, really good levels of compensation for employees. And it is a little difficult, obviously. So you need to be willing to study things related to genetics and therapeutics and all kinds of science topics. But if you like science, even if you're not a science major, I think there is an opportunity for you in the company. Now, this is what Latinos in Bio was all about. And so we started with 15 people, and then we rapidly grew. We're now more than 400 people. And these are all Latinx that work in different biotech and pharmaceutical companies. And, some of the struggles that we had, obviously, is that we started just as an informal organization. And now we feel the need to become more formal. And so we are applying to a 501c3 certificate so that we can become a real nonprofit. And then we are able to get funding from biopharmaceutical companies that have reached out to us wanting to provide funding so we can grow. We can probably hire an executive director and be able to work with professionals that are dedicated to the nonprofit rather than us Latinos in biotech trying to do it in our own spare time, because that is really challenging for us. We're all really busy. So, but we're moving ahead, and our 501c3 designation will probably come very soon, hopefully in April. Any other
That's
questions?
amazing. Thank you for telling us that. It's amazing to capture this at the beginning of your organization. Not really at the beginning, but in the beginning processes, so to say. Just to transition us a little bit, because I'd like to hear more about your upbringing. What was your favorite class in school and why?
Oh well, I was fearing this question. I
Oh
actually
no, I
I
can say
loved everything. I really enjoyed school. I don't know if it's common, but I really enjoyed learning since the very beginning. And I was a valedictorian at school. I always enjoyed being present in class and sitting up front and paying attention and trying to absorb everything, because I wasn't a big fan of going back home and having to study everything. So I just tried to pay attention at school. But I loved math and biology and English. Um, I really enjoyed every class, but I guess not so much, classes like, for example, uh, you know, physical education and things that weren't related to the academics. I'm more into math and finance and English, actually.
me too, and I'm sure a lot of the students listening to this are totally going to relate to you. We have a question in the class in the chat. Oh my gosh. Um, who were some of the people who helped you along your career path, especially early on, and how did you connect with them?
Yeah, so this is a really important question. So mentors and sponsors are very important, but also peers, okay? So I think that now mentors and sponsors get all the attention, but your peers are as important as your mentors. And when you have peers that are great professionals in what they do, and even if they are in different areas, actually better if they are in different areas. So if you are in business, if they are in science, or if they are in finance, try to have meaningful conversations with your peers, right? Because it's not always easy to get a mentor and to meet often with a mentor. You're more likely to go out after work or meet with peers. So make sure that you're not just socializing, but truly use those friendships or interactions to try to talk about your careers, and try to learn from each other best practices as to how to get ahead. Because I think that one of the most important things for Latinx and for underrepresented populations is that they need to help each other to get ahead. And if your peers are climbing up the ladder, I'm sure that they're gonna pull a lot of you along the way, which is how it's done. Mhm.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And we're just about at time, but we always ask one question at the end. If you had any words of advice for students that would want to go into the same career as you, what would you tell them?
Go for it. 100%. So it doesn't matter if you have no family members that have worked in STEM or in the industry, in the biopharma industry before. It doesn't matter if you have nobody that you know, because normally in underrepresented populations, it's very difficult to find people that have been in technology or in biotech. So just set your goals and set a plan. So it's not only important to have a goal and a dream, but it's also important to develop a plan on how to get there. So, even before you start to study your college degree, and obviously I'm urging everybody to go to college. I think that people think that, well, I don't necessarily need to go to college, because a lot of people make it without having to go through college, but those are very few and far between. Chances are, statistically, you are going to need your college degree if you really want to grow and prosper in your career, especially in biotech, where credentials are super important, you know. So um, employers really look at your college, where you went, your college degree, how you did in school, etc., before they hire you. And even to promote you, you probably need a graduate degree, like a PhD or a master's or some type of graduate degree. And a lot of these companies actually pay for that, for reimbursement, tuition reimbursement assistance for you to get your graduate degree. So I would say, go to college, use those years to learn and absorb as much as you can, and have a goal to get to the industry of your choice. Hopefully, it's biotech or biopharma, and accomplish all the milestones that you need to accomplish to get there.
What great advice, Carolina. Thank you so much for being here and giving your lens of experience. Students, please go to Latinos in Bio's website for more information on her organization. And that should be everything. Also, we're going to post something in the description about a recent article that Carolina has been featured in. But thank you so much for being here and giving your time.